It's 2025 and a new year means brand new opportunities. And for a lot of you out there, I know you've been thinking about one thing over the holidays, and that is starting your own business. But you have so many questions like, how do I get started? How do I come up with a brand? How do I even sell stuff to people? And what am I even going to sell? Now take a deep breath. Shopify has got you. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. And you can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. You don't have to be a coding nerd or a design geek to get this done. All you need to do is drag and drop. Shopify also helps with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, so you can focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/truecrime, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/truecrime to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/truecrime.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
For weeks now, New Jersey residents have been plagued by unexplained drones flying overhead.
Is there intelligent alien life? And if so, has the government been covering it up?
All right, UFO sightings the military can't explain. Congressional hearings, Pentagon whistleblower. What does it all mean?
What does it all mean? We are here to try and figure it all out with our new Ancient Aliens podcast. There is a doorway in the universe. Beyond it is the promise of truth. It demands we question everything we have ever been taught. The evidence is all around us. The future is right before our eyes. We are not alone. We have never been alone. Listen to the Ancient Aliens podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 415 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
I'm just chilling.
Just chilling?
Yeah.
You look like you're chilling.
Because I'm willing.
You're laid back in the chair, eyes half open. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, so, yeah, I said it on TCAT, I said it on Patreon, but this weekend, I'm headed to Chicago with my lovely wife for our 29th wedding anniversary. So
exciting news.
Next year is the big 3-0.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But she put up with you that long? I don't know.
It is. How fast time flies. Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had One Bad Day Away.
We'll keep that bad day away. Bad day away.
Karen S.
Hey, Karen.
With Love, Nick jumped out at our highest level.
Well, thanks, with love.
Catherine Gorham jumped out at our highest level.
Oh, Gorham.
Chris DeMuth.
Is that like gin? You have some gin and Dermuth?
Dermuth?
Or Demuth? I'll have a gin and Demuth. What's that? Me.
Is that like vermouth?
Yeah.
Okay. Lisa Marie.
Hey, Lisa Marie.
Misty Edwards.
Well, thanks, Edwards.
Carla Tate.
Carla.
Samantha Mayhew.
Hey, Samantha.
And last but not least, Dana Marie.
Well, thanks, Marie.
Yeah, so we appreciate the new support. And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Lisa Scheckler.
Look, Lisa's still loving us.
So we appreciate that long-term support as well. You know, when you said DeMuth, a lot of times I don't know if you're kidding around or you really don't know the name of you know, what you're thinking of.
Well, yeah, of course I know.
Because you never say it.
Because maybe I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to keep you guessing. I want you to sit on the fence, and not just a normal flat fence. I want it to be one of those pointed fences.
Spiky.
Yeah, that you're
and
sitting
just
on.
sit there.
Yeah.
I
And you're
got
like,
you.
well, I don't know. What side is he on? I'm not sure. By the way, this is starting to hurt a little bit.
So we have an episode out right now on True Crime All the Time where we're finishing up with our second and final episode on Richard Merritt. In part 1, we went over his crimes, heinous, his getaway. Part 2, we cover how he was finally arrested and then all the evidence prosecutors presented at his murder trial. And there's kind of a twist in the trial where he decides to take the stand. And to me, that was a very fascinating part because you have an attorney crafting his own narrative.
Yes.
To try to defend himself. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am ready to get it.
We're talking about the disappearance of Danielle Bell. Danielle Bell was just 14 years old when she went missing in September 2001. At the time of her disappearance, she was involved in a relationship with a 24-year-old man who remains a person of interest in her case. Danielle Arian Bell was born on July 28, 1987. In 2001, she was living with her mother, Susan Bell, in Cantonment, an unincorporated community north of Pensacola, Florida. In 2002, Susan spoke about Danielle with the Pensacola News-Journal, saying, "She was my pal. She was my best friend."
I think a lot of moms can say that.
And those who can't wish they could. Because, a mother and daughter relationship, at least as I have viewed them, goes through a number of different cycles, right? Sometimes at points in their lives, daughters love their mothers. They're like their favorite people in the world. And then for a while, they don't really want anything to do with you.
Right.
Sometimes. And then it's like they come back full circle to, really loving and appreciating their moms. At least that's what I've kind of seen with my two girls.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you always have to be the parent first.
Yes.
But yeah, you want to be friends with your kid and you want to be able to do things with them.
Yeah, and you want them to confide in you.
Yeah.
And, look at you as a person they can come to with anything. Danielle's sister Bonnie told News Nation that her sister was outgoing. She was a cheerleader and had many friends at her school. According to the Charlie Project, Danielle's loved ones later told investigators that some of her friends may have had a negative influence on her behavior.
Well, I had some friends that probably had a negative influence on me growing up.
I think we probably all did. There are some things that I did when I was younger that I would not have done without the peer pressure from this friend or that friend.
Yeah.
Now, I might have done it later on, but I wouldn't have done it when I did it. Let's just say that.
I see how you work that.
I'm not going to, divulge what those things were, but, there are good friends, people who you consider to be close friends, who might be doing some things they shouldn't be doing, which can in turn have a negative influence on you.
Sure can.
Danielle's best friend also spoke to News Nation, but she asked not to be identified for her own safety. She told News Nation that she and Danielle were inseparable until Danielle started dating 24-year-old Alfredo Gomez Sanchez Jr. Danielle's friend recalled, honestly, at 13 even, I didn't want to be around him. I could tell like it was just off. He was older than us. He just kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. And people don't use that word or that term phrase anymore.
I know.
As much as they used to.
But
I think we should bring it back.
I think so too. I mean, this is a heebie-jeebies kind of a situation, right?
Well, it is when you think about a 24-year-old full-grown man dating a 14-year-old.
Look, I have a daughter. You've got 2 daughters. I'm telling you, there's no way I would ever be okay with my 14-year-old daughter dating a 24-year-old man. No way.
No, absolutely not. I don't think my shotgun would ever be clean enough. I just think it would constantly be out in the living room and I'd be cleaning it.
Yeah.
If this guy ever came over, just kind of maybe want you to see what type of arsenal I'm working with here.
I suppose you'd wait for him to come over.
Well, I don't want to leave my house. I might open myself up to, prosecution.
Well, that's true.
About 2 weeks before she disappeared, Danielle told her best friend she was pregnant. The friend said she was crying, and she was just telling me that she thinks she's pregnant with Alfredo's baby, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. According to Bonnie, Danielle also talked to their mother about the pregnancy. Bonnie told News Nation, "My mom said that my sister told her that she was pregnant with Alfredo Sanchez's child, and that Alfredo had told her if she said anything to anyone, he would murder her."
Well, there you go. He knows what he's doing is not right. He's with an underage girl, and now he has her pregnant. It can't be good for him.
If she talks to people about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that, you would go straight to, "I'll murder you." I mean, obviously that's something that you have to take in context with the fact that we know Danielle goes missing. If it came out that Alfredo was the father of the baby, he could go to prison. Just as you said, Gibbs, right? Danielle was a minor. Bonnie told News Nation prior to her disappearance, she had been involved in a sexual relationship with a 24-year-old man, which is really child sexual assault.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways around it.
To me, I don't think there's any way to justify a 24-year-old dating a 14.
No.
There's no conversation someone could have with me
that would change your mind about that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it physically makes me sick to my stomach. Now, you can debate 18, 17-year-olds and stuff like that. And some of the laws are written where if it's within X number of years apart, it's okay. And again, I know some states differ, but there's no way that 24 and 14 is not criminal.
Yeah. If you put me in front of any 24-year-old man or woman dating a 14-year-old boy or girl, I'm going to ask him, why? Why are you dating somebody underage? They're not going to have a good reason.
That's what you're going to do? You're going to ask them why?
Well, I just want to hear what they have to say before I tell them what I really think.
Oh, okay. Give them your actual opinion on it.
Yeah.
Danielle was supposed to go to a doctor's appointment the week after she went missing on September 28, 2001. Witnesses saw Danielle at a park off Well Line Road in Cantonment with Alfredo and some of his friends. As reported by WEAR TV, from there, Danielle was seen getting into a white Lincoln town car. Danielle was last seen at the home of 24-year-old Robert Bassett Jr. on Cedar Tree Lane in Pensacola. Robert was a friend of Alfredo's and a convicted felon.
So maybe not a good person to be around.
Probably not a great person to be around if you're Alfredo, but certainly not a good person to be around if you're a 14-year-old girl. He's 24 and he's a convicted felon.
Yeah.
I'm not disparaging all convicted felons out there. This is more about the fact that you're hanging out with a 14-year-old girl.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. What are you doing with a 14-year-old girl? Send her home. Don't put yourself in that situation.
But, the other thing I think we have to point out is that this happens in September of 2001, right? We're just a couple of weeks after the 9/11 tragedy.
That's a very good point.
Now, the sources used for this episode differed slightly on what exactly happened that night. According to North Escambia News, witnesses told authorities that Danielle left the party with a man in his mid-20s Deputies later questioned him and searched his home, but he was never charged. The Charlie Project reports that witnesses left the party, leaving Danielle behind with Robert Bassett. So there are some different stories from people about what happened that night, but Danielle never came home, and neither she nor the white town car were ever seen again. Susan Bell told WKRG, I knew Friday something was not right when she didn't come back or come home, or I didn't hear from her. But by Sunday evening, I knew, and that's when I called 911.
2 days seems like a little bit of time to wait.
Well, for a 14-year-old, it does. And again, you and I don't want to speak bad of the mother in this situation. 2 days does seem like a lot when you haven't heard from your 14-year-old daughter. In her interview with News Nation, Bonnie said the delay was partially because Danielle didn't have much supervision at home. Bonnie now blames Susan for Danielle's disappearance and said Susan allowed Danielle to keep seeing Alfredo in exchange for drugs.
Well, that clears up a little bit of the why did it take a few days before reaching out to the police?
Yeah, if Bonnie's being truthful, and I'm not saying she's not, but it's obviously very disparaging towards Susan.
Yeah, it doesn't look good if you're allowing your 14-year-old daughter to date a 24-year-old man because he's supplying you with drugs.
Danielle's father, Matt Bell, claimed he never knew Danielle was hanging around with these men as she wasn't living with him at the time. She was supposed to move in with him on October 1st, 2001. He wasn't aware she was missing until September 30th.
How upset you think he was?
Again, I think very upset because, 2 days have passed where nobody has heard from this 14-year-old girl, and her father doesn't even know. Matt told WEAR TV that Susan called him and said, "Hey, Danielle never came home Friday, so you think I ought to call the law?" Matt responded by saying, "Are you kidding me? You called me on Sunday to let me know my daughter didn't come home for 2 days? Yes, you called the law."
Yeah, I think a lot of people are shaking their heads right now saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, call the freaking law.
Well, you and I, we broached the subject, but we didn't want to, again, disparage the mother. But, when you hear other people saying it, it kind of just reinforces it.
Yeah.
Once the temps start rising, I realized I was back in the same worn out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like their 100% European linen shorts, dresses from $30, luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. And the best part is everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I've been buying a lot of stuff from Quince, a lot of shorts, a lot of lightweight joggers. They are all so very comfortable. And the feel of each piece is what you'd expect from something that costs way more. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/truecrime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/truecrime to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/truecrime. Folks, when we started the podcast, it seems like we had to figure out everything on our own. What equipment to use, schedules, logos, music, and that includes merchandise. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/TCAT. Go to shopify.com/TCATT. Shopify.com/TCAT. According to News Nation, in her initial interview with the police, Susan did not give Alfredo's name. Instead, she gave the name of Alfredo's younger brother, who told the police Danielle talked about running away because of the problems she had with her mother.
So why would you do that? Is it because you're embarrassed that you're letting your daughter date an older guy, or
is it because of the drugs, which could potentially bring criminal charges?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. But what this did was it caused the police to treat Danielle as a runaway. In a February 2002 interview with the Pensacola News-Journal, Susan said that every few days she drove around looking for Danielle after work and posted over 1,500 flyers in their old neighborhood in Cantonment. She claimed that investigators told her they had to wait for something else to come up, but Susan said, "I'm always thinking of something else I can do. She's all I think about. Is she dead? Is she alive? Is she hurt? Is she just lying out there somewhere? Has somebody hurt her? You just don't know. It's a living nightmare."
Yeah, and I'm sure for Susan, she's second guessing everything she ever did that led up to the disappearance. I think I would if I was in her position.
Well, I think everybody does.
Yeah.
Whether you really did something you shouldn't have done or not. You know, what's sticking with me here is that she misled the police.
Sure.
Which caused them to not treat Danielle's disappearance properly.
Which hurts the investigation.
Absolutely. WEAR TV reports that Robert Bassett was arrested in January 2002 for stalking and threatening a man investigators questioned about Danielle's disappearance. This man told officers that Robert saw Danielle on September 30th, 2001, and gave Robert's contact information to law enforcement. Robert stalked him for several days afterwards.
Sounds like Robert didn't want the police to know that he might have had contact.
Yeah, well, he sure wasn't happy about this guy talking to police, giving him his information, telling him that he was with her. A year after Danielle went missing, her loved ones held a candlelight vigil for her. Susan spoke to the Pensacola News-Journal and said she was told it was possible Danielle was a victim of foul play. In 2004, Susan told the News-Journal, "I want my daughter's body found. I want to bring her home. It's the closure I need." And I think, Gibbs, after a person has been missing for a year, foul play has to be a part of the equation.
Sure. You have to look at that.
On September 23rd, 2005, Alfredo was arrested on 10 counts of lewd or lascivious battery and 1 count of sexual battery against a teenager. He was held on $25,000 bond. Sheriff's deputies said Alfredo engaged in sexual activity several times with a girl who was 14 when the incidents began in September 1998. In August 2001, when the girl was 16, he forced her to have sex with him. The investigation began in August 2005, when the victim, who was an adult by then, told the police she got pregnant at age 16 after having sex with an adult man.
So Alfredo had multiple encounters with underage girls when he was in his mid-20s.
And potentially got 2 underage girls pregnant.
Yeah.
News Nation reported that an affidavit filed in the case included accounts from other girls who were 15 or younger who had sexual encounters with Alfredo. The affidavit also contained a witness statement from a girl who said that a month before she disappeared, Danielle told witnesses she was gang raped by Alfredo and his friends after she was heavily drugged.
So Alfredo's a sick individual. And if that's true, obviously the rest of his group are sick individuals.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that it seems he had a penchant for, young girls, 14 years old, 15 years old, at the time when he was in his 20s to mid-20s.
Yeah.
And this statement, if true, is just absolutely appalling. Bonnie told News Nation, "I believe that they saw a young girl who was fun, willing to do what they wanted, and a mother that didn't care. And they were able to use her in whatever way they thought they could and then get rid of her like a piece of trash." So, Gibbs, one of the things that's jumping out at me is Bonnie's opinion of her mother.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious that she blames her mother. We even heard it in one of her statements. There was no supervision. And it seemed, according to Bonnie, that Susan was okay with the relationship because of the drugs that she was being supplied by Alfredo. Now, this is all according to Bonnie.
And the question is, did Susan know what Alfredo was doing with and to her daughter? And I'm hoping that she didn't. Maybe she just had some blinders on, because I can't see a parent being okay with that.
Well, most wouldn't be. That's for sure. In November 2005, Alfredo was charged with 2 counts of lewd, lascivious, or indecent assault, or act upon or in the presence of a child in regards to his relationship with Danielle. His separate charge of unlawful sexual activity with a minor was still pending. Alfredo posted his bond on that charge, but was unable to make the $250,000 bond on the charges involving Danielle. Susan Bell said she believed Alfredo had something to do with Danielle's disappearance and presumed death. Susan spoke at a hearing on February 14, 2006, and asked the judge not to reduce Alfredo's bond, saying, "I believe if his bond is lowered, he may do something with the remains of my daughter."
That does sound like Susan has come around, at least in my thought process.
Well, I think she's come around to believing that Alfredo had something to do with Danielle's disappearance and possibly even her death. Now, whether she, has come around to the fact that her actions potentially led to this happening, that part I don't know. If what Bonnie has said is true, Susan has to shoulder some responsibility.
Sure, yeah. And if her concern is that if he gets out, he might do something with her remains, I don't know if he would do something like that, because if he wanted to do it, I think he's probably connected well enough with some of his gang to get somebody to do it while he's in prison.
Or he could have done it in the 4 years prior.
Well, that's true.
Susan described Alfredo as a flight risk. The Pensacola News-Journal quoted her as saying, "Mr. Sanchez knew there was a warrant out there for him, and he ran for over a week. I don't see the need for Mr. Sanchez to be out there. I believe if he is, he will run." The assistant state attorney noted that Alfredo admitted to having sex with Danielle when she was 14. The ADA also presented a list of Alfredo's prior convictions dating back to 1993. Many of those convictions were probation violations. And I'm sure, those were pointed out as reasons not to reduce the bond. Look, here's his track record of violating probation. What's he going to do if he's out on bond?
Exactly. There's the history of it.
Alfredo's defense attorney pointed out that the bond was inordinately high and that Alfredo was not charged with Danielle's presumed death.
Well, they're going to put a good foot forward trying to get it reduced for sure.
His attorney asked the judge to reduce the bond so Alfredo could get cataract surgery. Alfredo testified that his eye drops were withheld for over a month after he arrived at the county jail, and without surgery, he could go blind.
Am I supposed to feel bad for him?
I was just thinking, I don't know how many people listening to this are going to feel the slightest bit bad for this man.
Yeah.
This is a guy who admitted having sex multiple times with different girls around the age of 14 years old.
Yeah. It's not okay.
These are not the type of people that, a lot of folks feel sorry for. Months later, on October 4th, 2006, Alfredo pleaded no contest to sex crimes and tampering with a victim or witness in court. On November 29th, Alfredo was sentenced to 45 years in prison on 3 charges: unlawful sexual activity with a minor, lewd or lascivious sexual battery on a minor, and 1 count of lewd or lascivious molestation on a minor.
Pretty hefty charges.
Hefty charges, but also a hefty sentence, 45 years.
Yeah. I like it, though.
I love it. But think about the cases that we have done from the past, and really not that long ago. Those types of charges, I don't know, people got 6 months or a year or something like that.
Yeah, certainly not 45 years.
No, we never see that in cases that go back, 30, 40 years. In February 2007, a team of volunteers from 5 states, along with specially trained dogs, searched almost 30 acres of dense brush west of Softly Field near 11 Mile Creek in West Pensacola, but nothing was found. The Pensacola News-Journal did not provide further explanation for why the search party focused on this area. And this comes up quite a bit in these unsolved episodes. Obviously, there had to have been some type of tip,
right,
that led, the search party to this area. But, sometimes that is not disclosed.
I mean, I think it had to be a pretty reliable tip too, right? To get all those folks out there.
Yeah, well, it was very specific, sounds like. On July 25th, 2007, Alfredo Sanchez was charged with providing false information to law enforcement. Authorities accused him of lying about his whereabouts when Danielle went missing. Alfredo claimed the last time he saw Danielle was 2 or 3 weeks before she disappeared. He claimed he was with a female cousin on the night in question, but this woman told the police he was not actually with her. Alfredo approached her after September 28, 2001, and asked if she would be his alibi, and she agreed.
Maybe out of fear.
Possibly. But it could also be a situation where, this family member doesn't believe that he had anything to do with it, but, doesn't want him to get all caught up in something he shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's her cousin, and, they're trying to keep each other away from law enforcement.
As cousins often do.
Yes.
But, let's not sugarcoat it. She still is lying to the police.
And that alibi could have caused a delay in looking into him deeper at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely could have. The News-Journal also reported that in 2005, a witness told investigators that Alfredo and 2 other men were with Danielle at Alfredo's cousin's home around the time she went missing. So, there have been a couple of witnesses at least, Gibbs, that puts Alfredo with Danielle and possibly with some other friends or relatives around the time she went missing. So to say that, he hadn't seen her in 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of people are disputing that fact.
Yeah, it's just a straight out lie, it sounds like.
Alfredo appealed his convictions, but his appeal was denied on April 20th, 2010. The court noted that Alfredo entered into a sentence recommendation agreement and recognized the maximum sentence was 15 years for each count before he was sentenced. Alfredo asked to withdraw his plea, but the motion was denied. And it sounds to me like at a certain point he realized, oh, I might have messed up here.
Yeah, this is not just 15 years. This is 15 years times X.
3.
Yeah.
Leading to 45. And it sounds like he got the maximum, which you and I both agree with. In October 2010, the Escambia County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit served a search warrant at Robert Bassett's home, where Danielle was last seen. They pumped out a septic tank behind the residence and search dogs were brought in. The police would not say what led to the search and later announced they didn't find anything. But we're talking 9 years after she disappeared.
It's a long time.
And, this is back to your point. Did some people maybe inadvertently, giving them the benefit of the doubt, cause delays, right? A cousin gave an alibi. Well, if she didn't do that, do they look at him closer? Do they dig into Robert Bassett sooner?
Right.
Do they do the search of the septic tank sooner? A lot of these things, may have not been fruitful at all, but maybe they would have back then.
Yeah, I mean, you think about even the early delay from Susan not reaching out to authorities for 2 days, right?
Yeah.
You've said it. We all know the first 48 hours is critical.
On October 11, 2012, human remains were found in a wooded area of Cantonment, which reignited interest in Danielle's disappearance. Land surveyors found the remains off Well-Line Road, near Alfredo Sanchez's home, and not far from where Danielle was last seen. However, these remains were determined not to be Danielle's. Unfortunately, I couldn't find where they determined, who these remains were. A little scary to think, though, that they were found near where this guy lived.
Right.
Which leads you to wonder if maybe he had some other victims.
Maybe they're still working on that.
Homes.com knows that when it comes to home shopping, it's never just about the house or condo. It's about the home. And what makes a home is more than just the house or property. It's the location and the neighborhood. If you have kids, it's also schools, nearby parks, and transportation options. That's why Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth information they need to find the right home. And when I say in-depth, I'm talking deep. Each listing features comprehensive information about the neighborhood, complete with a video guide. They also have details about local schools with test scores, state rankings, and student-to-teacher ratio. They even have an agent directory with the sales history of each agent. So when it comes to finding a home, not just a house, this is everything you need to know, all in one place. Homes.com. We've done your homework.
Get this, adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Wondery. Greenlight.com/Wondery.
Susan Bell, who has since passed away, spoke to WKRG in 2017 saying there's too much evidence and things point to she was murdered that night. She also spoke about why people won't come forward with information. At the time, I could understand because they were scared. But it's been years now. You've got kids of your own, so you would be okay with somebody doing this to your kid. That is how I'm taking it.
Well, look, I'm thinking if they were, and I'm saying, when I say they, I mean Alfredo, was associated with a gang back at that time, probably was scary to come forward. Because maybe you thought, well, if I come forward, something bad's going to happen to me or my loved ones.
Yeah, I don't know if he was, associated with a gang or this was just a group of people, right? But either way, could you be fearful that one or more of these individuals who may have been involved were going to come after you?
Yeah, you could have been. And if that individual and his associates were where you got your drugs from, if you had an addiction of drugs, you're not going to want to do anything to cut that supply off.
No, that's a good point as well. But Gibbs, I want to go back to what Susan said, right? Why won't people come forward today? She said, so you would be okay with someone doing this to your kid. Now, I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but that does seem somewhat hypocritical based on, some of the actions on Susan's part right after Danielle disappeared.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think it's true. She waited a couple days to call the father, waited a couple days to contact law enforcement.
And she allowed Danielle to be in this relationship in the first place, which shouldn't have happened.
According to Bonnie.
In
exchange for drugs.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that I'm sure she wanted Danielle back, or at the very least wanted to know what happened to her, wanted her remains so that she could bury her. Susan also said that the Escambia County Sheriff's Office had not contacted her for about 3 years. The last time they did, they told her they were understaffed.
Well, cold case, understaffed. I'm sure it's not getting the attention that maybe Susan hoped it would have.
No, I'm sure that is true for most loved ones of people who, disappear or are murdered and their case goes cold. But I think you could think of something better to say than we're understaffed.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just really into telling the truth, but it doesn't come off well, that's for sure.
No.
WKRG contacted the sheriff's office to request an interview. They were told the case had been turned over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The FDLE said they didn't have the case, but had assisted in the past. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office then confirmed they had the case and declined an interview.
Oh, you followed up with the FDLE. Shit.
Yeah.
I didn't think you'd take it this far.
I guess we have to admit we do have the case.
Yeah, it's right here, but we're not going to talk anymore about it. Thank you.
Susan told WKRG they have messed up this case from the very beginning. They've lost evidence. They've lost paperwork. It's just been ongoing with them. And I think you do have to question a law enforcement agency when they tell a news outlet that they've turned the case over to somebody and then later have to come back and say, oh no, we have that.
Yeah.
But we don't want to talk about it. Something doesn't sound right there.
Makes you scratch your head for sure. But I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel like from some of the research that maybe Susan turned it around, like was engaged and really trying to drive, some results here.
Yeah. And that's why I kept saying, I hate to disparage her and I hate to speak ill of her, but there are some things that I think are true, but I also believe what you're saying may be correct as well. We all do some things when we're younger that we're not proud of. Most of us, as we get older, we kind of ditch some of those bad habits or stop doing some of those crazy things that we did when we were younger.
Sure.
And maybe she did turn around and was just really focused on trying to get a resolution. In August 2020, 43-year-old Robert Bassett Jr. was charged with 2 counts of felony aggravated battery causing bodily harm, 2 counts of criminal mischief with property damage, burglary of a residence, and multiple violations of domestic violence injunctions. The incidents involved his wife and 2 other women between May 5th and August 1st of that year.
Well, I guess he never really learned his lesson.
According to the North Escambia News, a woman told the police that Bassett punched her 6 or 7 times in the face during a disturbance over $40 at a residence on Cedar Tree Lane. In a separate incident, Bassett forced his way into a room at the Garden Inn and Suites. By shoving a door into a woman, he then punched her multiple times in the face and hit her with a wooden chair. He claimed she stole $300 from him. The victim described Bassett as a former roommate she lived with 3 months earlier, but they did not have a relationship. In the third incident, Bassett violated a temporary domestic violence injunction his wife filed against him. In the fourth incident, he punched his ex-girlfriend in the face at a flea market, took the keys out of her ignition, and threatened to kill her. In a fifth incident, he flattened the tires on his wife's vehicle. And then finally, in the sixth incident, he violated the domestic violence order by texting his wife, "I'm on my way. I need you."
He's a big man because he can hit women in the face.
But when you look at these incidents, does it not make you think, Gibbs, that potentially Robert Bassett Jr., at the very least, was capable of harming Danielle?
Yeah.
He was certainly capable of harming all these other women.
He had the temper. He certainly didn't have a problem hitting a woman.
I mean, you're going to punch a woman, which you shouldn't do at all, but you're going to punch a woman in the face 6 or 7 times over $40. I get it. $40 means more to some people than others, but you shouldn't be putting your hands on a woman at all, let alone punching one in the face 6 or 7 times. And then after doing all that stuff to his wife, he has the gall to text her saying, "I'm on my way. I need you."
I need you, baby.
You know what? I do not need you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can take your candles and your Barry White CD and all of that and turn around.
Well, you never give up the Barry White albums. Never.
Well, I'm not saying you give them up. I'm saying she wasn't having none of it.
I got you.
And how could she? I mean, she had a domestic violence order against him. He had flattened her tires. We don't have the details of all the stuff he did to her.
Wonder if the courts sent him the anger management courses.
Well, I hope they did a heck of a lot more than that. Unfortunately, we didn't really see, what the ultimate outcome for him was. 23 years later, Danielle's family is still searching for answers in her disappearance. Her father, Matt Bell, told WEAR in February 2025, "The not knowing is the hardest part of the whole thing. Please let somebody know something to give us a lead to where we can bring Danielle home. This is our biggest goal." And we hear that so many times from families of people who are missing. The not knowing is the hardest part.
Yeah, and I think he's right. He knows somebody knows something. Like somebody has to know what happened. Just bring it forward.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But again, it's the people who probably know are the people who would be jeopardizing their freedom.
Yeah.
If they're still on the outside.
True.
Or in the case of Alfredo, maybe tacking on more to the 45 years he already had.
Yeah.
Neither Alfredo Sanchez nor Robert Bassett have been charged in connection with Danielle's disappearance. Investigator James Larry Hall Jr. told WEAR there was some tremendous focus on some of those suspects, and they were never eliminated from being possibly responsible for her disappearance. Never got to the point where there could be an arrest, but they were certainly never eliminated.
Is that kind of saying they're still persons of interest?
Yeah, I think if you're not eliminated, you're still a person of interest. But I think he's going even further by saying it without being able to come right out and say it.
Yeah.
If you get my meaning. He added that they receive new information in the case, but not often. And it's never what we're looking for. Never her, and never exactly what happened to her. The information they receive tends to come from people who have been in prison, who want leverage for their situation. Detectives will speak to them in hopes of solving the case, but so far, none of the leads have panned out.
And we hear that a lot.
And sometimes people do come forward with credible information, but I think more often than not, some of these inmates are throwing darts at the wall in hopes that they can get some time shaved.
Yeah.
Because what does it hurt?
Nothing.
They're not going to get more time.
They're just going to continue to jockey for a little bit better position in prison, maybe get, like you said, get out early, maybe get a better deal.
Detective Hall emphasized that Alfredo Sanchez, Robert Bassett, and another unnamed man remain persons of interest. According to the Florida DOC website, Alfredo's release date is set for February 17th, 2046. Bassett is set to be released in November 2025.
Gee, he'll be out soon.
Yeah. So he got some time, but it doesn't seem like it was all that much. Bonnie Bell has created social media accounts to raise awareness for her sister's case. Her TikTok account, Missing Child Danielle Bell, has almost 14,000 followers. You can also find Bonnie on YouTube with the account name Missing Child Danielle Bell, on Facebook with the same account name, and on Instagram at Danielle Bell's sister. Bonnie posts regular social media updates about the case. For example, in a TikTok video posted on March 24th of this year, Bonnie noted that partial remains were found on September 8th, 2022, near the location where Danielle was last seen. She contacted the medical examiner's office to inquire about the remains and was told they hadn't been tested.
Come on, man. Get them tested. What are you waiting on?
Bonnie told WEAR TV, "I feel like somebody needs to fight for her and that the whole truth needs to be told. It's important to give Danielle a voice. My goal is to find her remains and give her a proper burial. I think that she deserved that. She, at bare minimum, deserves to be properly buried. And not only for that, but for her and the rest of the family too."
Yeah, point on.
Bonnie wants a new agency outside of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office to take a look at Danielle's case. And I get that. I mean, they haven't come off as completely credible.
Well,
given some of the things that we talked about.
Yeah, there were some slip-ups.
Now, that could have been confusion on one person's part in saying that, but
could have been.
Bonnie also told News Nation, "I think there were individuals at the party that night who knew what happened, and they've been scared to talk. Now that it's been 23 years and the main suspects are in prison, they will talk now." And I hope she's right about that.
Yeah, me too.
As of now, Danielle would be 37 years old. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has an aged progressed photo of her on their website. At the time of her disappearance, Danielle was described as a white female, 5'4", 120 pounds, with light brown hair and blue eyes. Danielle has a scar on her right forearm and a small homemade tattoo of a purple Playboy bunny on her pelvic region. Danielle was last seen wearing a light blue halter top with glittery fabric, a blue Tommy Hilfiger jacket, black pants, black-heeled dress shoes, a dolphin ring, a heart ring, a silver neck chain, diamond earrings, a gold ring set with an emerald and 2 diamonds, and a gold ring set with a ruby and a garnet. She liked jewelry.
So you sound kind of blinged out.
Yeah, she had a thing for jewelry, no doubt about it. But all of those details are important.
They are.
The Escambia County Sheriff's Office has said the investigation is still active and they need the public's help. If you have any information about the disappearance of Danielle Bell, you can call the Escambia County Sheriff's Office at 850-436-9620 or the Florida Department of Law Enforcement at 1-888-FL-MISSING. So, Gibbs, as we wrap up this episode, you know, for me, this is different than some of the unsolved cases that we do. It's hard not to think that Alfredo Sanchez, at the very least, had something to do with what happened to Danielle Bell.
Or has some knowledge about what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the fact that the detective said, you know, Alfredo, Robert Bassett, and another man who's not been named remain persons of interest.
I'm sure Bassett does not want anything coming forward because he's on his way out soon, and I don't think he wants to be associated with anything that could pull him back in.
Well, he is a very violent individual.
Oh, yeah.
As evidenced by all the different incidents, some of which he was jailed for.
Sure.
Violence against women, he doesn't seem to have a problem with. So is it hard to believe that he could have possibly done something to Danielle? You know, he was said to have been the last, if not one of the last people to have been seen with her.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder.
But then you also have Alfredo. Is there a chance that he was worried about this coming out and wanted to do something to quiet Danielle forever?
To keep him from going to jail.
Yeah. Now, he later ended up going to jail because of it anyway, but that doesn't mean that in his mind, he couldn't have thought, well, this is what I have to do in order to ensure my freedom.
Yeah. Yep.
But, I think, with the amount of attention that Bonnie is giving this, she obviously is not giving up on finding her sister. And I think she's right. There's somebody out there who has been afraid all these years. And hopefully, with some of these individuals incarcerated, maybe they'll come forward because they're not as fearful. Although Robert is getting out later this year, and we don't know anything about this other guy, this unnamed individual.
That's true.
He could be just as bad.
Could be.
But that's it for our episode on the disappearance of Danielle Bell. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing more about this in the near future.
Well, I think Bonnie's doing some good work.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Yeah, let's hear them.
It's Ashley over in Batavia. I was just listening to, I think it was episode 107 with Faith Hedgepeth. And so they haven't gone to trial, and they don't have an actual trial date yet, but they did arrest a guy. I'm not going to try to even attempt his last name. I'm going to say his first name is Miguel. But he was arrested and charged with murder. But they also recently amended his charges to include first-degree kidnapping and first-degree assault, I believe, either assault or rape. I'm not looking at the article currently, sorry. But yeah, so hopefully here soon, her and her family will have justice for what happened to her. Keep your head on a swivel. See you later.
All right, thank you so much. We love those updates, Gibbs, because you and I don't always have time to go back and look at updates.
No, we don't.
Because we're always looking forward to the episodes and researching the episodes that are getting ready to come out. So we appreciate it anytime, someone calls in or emails us with updates on some of the cases we've done.
Love it.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Lenora calling from Port Townsend again. I have continued to enjoy listening to your podcast, and I've been noticing you've been talking a lot about not understanding why sometimes law enforcement or people in the prosecutors field get so focused on a suspect that they ignore other possible suspects. And I was connecting that with the concept of something called a right fighter. And I didn't know if you'd ever heard of that, thought you might find it interesting, which is a right fighter is a person who, quote, places a higher value on being right than anything else. They persist in the quest to be right, even in the face of overwhelming facts, common sense, and realities. So, I think that pretty much describes a lot of, unfortunately, the situation that a lot of people find themselves in when they are being investigated as possible suspects. And unfortunately, it kind of clouds judgment, perhaps. Love your show. Stay safe. Keep your own time ticking. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for the voicemail. Great information. I've actually never heard of that term, right fighter.
Yeah, but I know one.
You're looking at one right now, aren't you? The difference is I feel like I am more often than not right.
Yeah.
I don't argue in the face of facts and all that. I have the facts on my side.
You saying I'm a left finder?
No, I didn't say anything about you. Maybe you're right. Maybe I would not make a good prosecutor.
But we appreciate what she called in for.
Yeah, I love all the different types of information.
We do.
All right, buddy, that is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Are you looking for your next case? Pluto TV has all your favorite crime dramas streaming for free.
You're gonna need some backup.
Which means suspense is free.
Very cool.
Watch CSI New York, Criminal Minds, Blue Bloods, Tracker, FBI, and SWAT all for free.
You can't outrun this.
Someone is gonna pay for all this crime. But it's not gonna be you.
Take care of business, fellas.
Watch all the cases, all for free, from all your favorite devices.
We got you.
Feel the free. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.